What did you make of the right royal dust-up between Nigel Farage and Kemi Badenoch this week, with the leader of the opposition, got to remind people that's the Tory party leader for now, Kemi Badenoch calling Reform UK woke, because she said that what they do is they fall into the trap of the left, which is to have the victimhood mentality and to blame certain groups, in the case of Reform, I guess, foreigners. So she calls Reform UK respond by calling her a sort of serial failure. I mean, the right are fighting like rats in a sack at the moment, aren't they? And I'm not sure it's doing any of us a favour.
No, and that's the key. I mean, at some point, you know, they're all going to have to sort of wake up to the reality that, you know, who is the real opposition here? OK, they're all leading, you know, and I include Rupert Lowe in this, you know, they're all leading different parties. And therefore, they've got to try and, you know, I think they're still stuck in the view that, right, they've got to hoover up some of the vote share of other parties. So they've got to attract people that might be more amenable to moving from, for example, the Conservative Party to Reform, just as Rupert Lowe tried to move people from Reform to Restore. But I think there is now a reality or a focus of minds that, you know, Andy Burnham is a better communicator than Keir Starmer. I think we can give him credit for that. But it didn't take much. So Burnham is doing a bit better. But he hasn't quite got that Burnham bounce. I mean, he's now on holiday, which is bizarre to me, because you would have thought, you know, you've avoided a leadership election, you're avoiding Parliament, you can avoid it for 6 weeks, you can avoid all kinds of scrutiny, you've got a 6-week free run and reign to do whatever it is that you basically please and announce all these policies left, right and centre. You should be doing more of that. So I don't know why he's decided not to go away, or why he has decided to go away, but there you go. But I think at some stage, you're absolutely right. You're going to have to focus the minds on who is the real opposition. And I don't think many people will accept that Reform are woke. They're not woke, because in principle, they still have the same ideas as other people on the right, including the Tory party. You know, they want to cut crime. They do want lower immigration. They want lower taxes. They want Whitehall to be reformed that works actually for the people of this country. So there is a lot more that unites them. That, you know, where there is a lot more crossover between the Tories and Reform than what divides them. So I think but I can understand why you're trying to pick on those divides, because again, you know, you've got to, you know, where Reform haven't done particularly well or have been, you know, there's always headlines about them at the minute. You know, if you want Kemi Badenoch, you want to be able to appeal to people that might have left the Tory party to come back. So I understand what's going on, but at some stage you've got to wake up and smell the coffee and think, right, who should we really be focusing all of our political attention on? And it's the left.
Common sense. Before we get to Barry in Norwich and Paul in Hartlepool on crime, a quick word on Kemi's line of attack. I think it was ham-fisted. She's had a really good year. And a lot of my viewers and listeners really like Kemi. Tory party, not so much. Tainted brand. Boris Wave, signing up to net zero, wokery in our public institutions. Certainly, in my view, the COVID overreaction. But a lot of people like Kemi. She's doing well in the personal poll ratings. But I don't know what's happened to her this week. She needs to give her head a wobble. Because, first of all, she doubles down on the permission given to a former neo-Nazi to run as a Tory councillor. That's a mistake. And then she calls Reform woke. That's fine. I'm not sure people still to this day know what woke means. It's confusing, because you can't sum it up in a sentence. But here's the other thing. She said that Reform are a party of grievance. Well, if she says the party is a party of grievance, she's actually attacking the supporters of Reform. So she's actually saying, in my opinion, that if you're worried about open borders and the cost of net zero and lawless streets, then you've got a chip on your shoulder. I think that's the problem. I think that she's almost flirting with a Hillary Clinton basket of deplorables scenario. Hillary Clinton said that Trump supporters were a basket of deplorables. It helped Donald Trump win the election in 2016. So Kemi, by attacking Reform and the concerns that it raises, is attacking the people that back Reform. That's a mistake, because she needs their votes.
Yeah. Look, I mean, people have a lot of grievance to bear over the last, decade or so. I wouldn't go as far to say that 14 years was a terrible time under the Tories. We did have
lots of positives, and the pandemic was nobody's fault.
And the government might not have presented itself in the best light because of some of those decisions. But no one had been in that situation before, so there was always going to be mistakes.
And I thought Rishi had a good 18 months.
Yeah.
I mean, inflation was 11, 12% when he became Prime Minister. He got it down to 2%.
Yeah, and look, had he maybe come in a bit earlier, and we didn't have the sort of the chopping and the changing of prime ministers in between, I think that's where people then sort of fell out of love with the Tory party because it was too inward looking. They were just talking amongst themselves and not actually getting on with the job of governing. So, look, there will be people with lots of grievances, and Reform have done particularly well in articulating those grievances. Now, the question is about, do they have the solution? So that's what Kemi, I think, where she feels she's on strong ground is that she won't announce something unless she's got a fully, signed off package of measures to deal with the problems, and she wants to answer the questions of what the country needs to deal with. So that's her sort of strength. I think that's what she wants to go on over the next couple of years. But you've got to be in the game, and when there are people that are worried about early prisoner releases, when there are people that are worried about the small boats crossings, you've got to grab those headlines. You've got to tap into people's.
And it's not grievance. It's a terrible word to use.
Yes. Yeah, you could use a different one, I suppose. But
it's gaslighting millions of people who are worried about the direction of travel of the country.
Well, and these are, and you're absolutely right.
And she calls it grievance. Yes. How dare you?
And to your point, so these are people who had, in 2019, for example, voted Conservative. This is the red wall of people that never voted Tory before, that had traditionally voted Labour, now going over to Reform. You can't just write those people off. So I think, look, she's very, her strength is also, as we've seen, because, she was sort of written off. People were sort of quite negative about her in the past, saying that, she's quite difficult to work with because she's quite single-minded. But that's a good thing in some respects. She knows what she wants to say, she knows what she wants to do, and she'll get on and do it. But she won't be moved by events. But that can sometimes be a weakness, as we saw with that doubling down, as you say, of that Somerset candidate who should just never have been a candidate. And I think, the idea of just trying to say, well, he was a former neo-Nazi. Well, that's okay. There are lots of former criminals that commit terrible crimes, but you wouldn't want them in front of your classroom, for example, to become a teacher. You wouldn't want them back on your television screens. So I think that you can do a lot of work as a Reform character, but he should never have been a candidate, and it was the wrong decision.
Well, I like Kemi, but she's had a horrible week. Kemi, give your head a wobble. Is she back on the espresso martinis or what? What is going on? Get a grip. How dare you label people concerned about the direction of the country as having grievance politics. But I do like her, and I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. I'll give everyone the benefit of the doubt. Andy Burnham. If he does the right thing, if he gets taxes down, we've got national income, reduces the debt, scales back the worst excesses of net zero, tackles illegal immigration. I promise you, guys, you know me. I'll say well done, Andy. But so far, not so good. Is Britain